Yeah, I'll talk about a couple of the individual programs real quick, and then I'm going to let y'all ask questions, so be thinking of your question while I share this. And I've just lost my job. Shannon teaches special needs right now, and you know, I love the irony of that, and she's already given her notice. She has one more 3 days?
3 days, yes.
3 days, through many tears. She has let go of that job, but through much excitement embraced what will be the greenhouse project. So as you can tell, she's going to be great at it, and how God can do that gives me the chills, because how I met Shannon was sitting next to her or behind her or something in church. And the first time she met me, she came to tell me her story, and she said, "You're not going to want me when you hear my story." And of course, God used her story, because with all those credentials, the most important credential that we often have is experience, because we know what it feels like. So she's willing to share that with us, and I'm so grateful, so grateful for that. Genesis process and change groups, they're two different things. If you want to be a mentor for us, then you need to get in a change group. And you might think, I don't need change. Well, Luann thought she didn't need change, and Tracy thought she didn't need change, and Marcia thought she didn't need change, until you get in the change group. And then you realize that we all need change. I've taught it 6 times, and every time I think, oh my God, Lord, when are you going to stop showing me the things that I'm afraid of? So anyway, it is a great small group. It lasts 6 months. You can see it at the table over here. You can talk to Marie, who's led one and has been in one multiple times, because every time you learn something new, and some of us are addicted to change groups. So the reason we want you to go through it is so you have the same mindset that we have. You can, if you're out of town, like in Virginia, you can Zoom. We will be doing those classes in person now, thank goodness, because there's just something about seeing each other and touching each other every week. And the maximum that can be in a group is 6 people. So it's a very intimate group, and that will prepare you really to do most anything in our ministry, whether it be to be a mentor, to be a small group leader, to lead change group. And we need all of the above. So that is, and the change group is the yellow book that was really written for church women. The Genesis process is a workbook that is one-on-one, and it is written more for the addict of alcohol, of sex, of drugs. I believe we're all addicted to something, even if it's our own way of thinking. But we all know that the church doesn't like us to believe that we're addicted to something. So herein lies the change book, is for the coping behaviors that we have. And the Genesis process is for the addictions that we have, which are truly one and the same, different language. So the greenhouse will be partnering with NA and AA. Hopefully we will have one of those classes each in our building, because both the Genesis process, one of the requirements is for a person with one-on-one is that they have a church, they go to worship somewhere, and that they're participating in an AA group. Because AA has some great fundamentals that will help keep you sober, where we want to go to the next step and help them not relapse. And it's not just relapsing into drugs, y'all. Haven't you ever prayed the same thing over and over? Oh, Lord, help me quit doing this. Help me quit doing this. Help me quit doing this. It's helping you to stop relapsing into that same bad behavior. Doesn't have to be that addiction that you don't want to tell anybody you're addicted to. It can just be a bad behavior that you really want to break the cycle of. So that's what those 2 books are about. We teach a early morning Bible study at 6 a.m. for those of you who are early birds. It's probably one of my favorite. Betty's over there shaking her head, but she's in the 6 a.m. Bible study, so I don't know why you're shaking your head.
Zoom and I can't do, and the telephone I only hear hi.
Well, flow is what it's called, which is part of the word flourish. And it really is directed to women that really want to grow deeper and want to teach, or are teaching, or aren't getting fed because they're in so much service. It's probably, those of us who are in it probably will never get out of it, because it is definitely the water trough in which we get fed. to do other things from the Lord. So that's our Bible study. This fall, I'll be teaching, starting in a couple weeks, a Bible study / how to teach 9 weeks called Mastering the Message. And you will learn how to take a passage of Scripture and break it apart and divide it and make it into a spiritual message so that you can give a 20-minute message, an hour message, whatever you want. And even, I haven't taught it in about 3 years. Luann and I partner together and teach that. And it's so good for us as teachers to refresh ourselves every time. We have some people that just do it every time we offer it just to stay sharp and refreshed. So if you teach, I would suggest that you come to that class and you drag everybody that you know that has that opportunity to teach, because if we have the open door to teach, we want to be great teachers. And I know that this makes us a great teacher. So then in the spring, starting in January, I'm going to move to a different Bible study called Flourish, which will be taught in the greenhouse. And it accomplishes 3 things: teaching you how to see God clearly, how to see yourself correctly, and how to see others compassionately. And so it's 3 sections, and you study the Word of God, and you learn some practical helps about seeing God clearly and yourself correctly, which is really, really important for us and for the greenhouse. If you're going to mentor anybody, you need to know how to see yourself correctly, and you need to know how to encourage them. Now, if I know you and I've been in Bible study with you for years and whatever, then you can probably just come to the mentoring class. And I won't be teaching the mentoring class till probably spring. But it's a great mentoring class. It's not a lot of homework. It's more book reading, that you come in and we discuss a chapter or 2 of a book. But it's real practical helps on how to be a mentor so that you could come and mentor. Each one of these women, 8 women, will probably have 4 to 6 mentors. One might be their friend to take them to ice cream. One might be their change group leader. One might be their Bible study person. So we need all kinds of people. One might be the person that picks them up and takes them to church every Sunday. And we want any and every church. We don't want to have to say, well, you have to come to Hephzibah. And they're like, well, I don't want to be a Southern Baptist, but we want to have the freedom for them to be able to go where they would like to go and have mentors that would pick them up and take them and let them see what normal life is and take them to lunch. And if you want to teach them how to cook, we'll have a spot for you to do that. If you want to, anything you want to teach them, you can teach them how to quilt, knit, paint. We'll have it available for a mentor in this house. Mm-hmm. But we want you to have the same foundation as everybody. That's why the change book is so important, because we don't want you saying the opposite, when we're trying to chart a course down the same path. So I think that's it. Is that?
I would share the recidivism rates.
Okay, that's a great plan. And then the booster bags. We need help collecting hygiene items, not only we give them to community every month, so there's going to be a table over there to help you understand what that looks like. This hope chest, Shannon didn't share about this, so I'm going to share about this. Don't forget to remind me what I'm supposed to be sharing about. This is made by her great-grandfather in 1918.
Yeah, great-great-grandfather in 1919.
1919, okay, I was close. Great-great-grandfather. He passed the knowledge of how to make this down to her grandfather. He passed it down to her father, who is now going to pass it down to her and her boys and anybody else that wants to make one. So every girl that comes to our home will have a hope chest. Amen. And they will be able to paint it and decorate it for themselves and have a locked hope chest to keep their stuff in their room. And before they leave, they will make a hope chest for the next woman that will come into the house. Amen. So they will learn a little bit of skills of how to do that so that they can leave. And they'll be out of different kinds of wood. They'll all be the same but different. And so that's really neat. So if you love to build or you have that skill, then, hey, we'll be able to use that too. Now, what am I supposed to be telling about? Recidivism rate. Okay, the recidivism rate, when I first heard that word, I thought, I've never heard that word. I'm 40-something years old. It means that it is the rate of people who will come out of prison and go back to prison or come out of a bad behavior like addiction and within 3 years go back to it. So the recidivism rate for the United States is 67%. For every 3 women that come out of prison, 2 will be back in 3 years. In North Carolina, it was 50%. It's creeping on up. I think it's 55% now. So 1 out of every 2 women will be back in prison within 3 years. So if you think about that, you and I break some bad habits within 2 years, there is a 50% chance that if we don't have a relapse prevention plan, that we're going right back to that old behavior. And y'all know it. You know, we diet, we lose a little bit of weight, we eat healthy for 2 years, and then some major mental distress comes into our life, and out come the Oreos. And we are back into the bad behavior that we were in, that we worked so hard to break because we didn't recognize what our trigger was. And we didn't have a plan to work through that. So that is really important that we understand that, and so that we can teach that to the women. And by all means, we want to keep these women from going to prison the first time or from getting out of prison and going back. Amen. And as you heard April say, if you don't have help on the outside, she said, I could go back to prison where there's fellowship, where my friends are. So we really don't want that to happen.
And what changes that?
What changes that? Thank you. 8% of women will stay out of prison. It'll go from 67% to 8%. So now think of that. 67 down to 8. If we provide 3 things: a job, a worship center, and no, it's not a place to live. I can't think of what the third one is. A house isn't even it.
Housing is. It is. It's housing, a place to worship, and a job. It's not housing.
No, it's mentoring. It's mentoring, a job, and a worship center.
Amen.
But what good do those things do you if you have to go to 3 different places to get them? Does that make sense? These women in prison, you don't want them getting on a bus and going here, there, and everywhere, because what's out there is not going to be good for them. So the home is what is the hub of the job. They come home from work to the home every night. They come back from worship and talk about what they studied. They have mentors that meet them at their home. And then in 18 months, they get to go build their own home. So that's why the home, but it's those 3 things. And we can do that, ladies. We can help women get jobs. We can mentor ladies, and we can help them find a place of worship to move that percentage of going back to prison or bad behavior from 67% to 8%. Amen. So that's a recidivism rate, and that's how we change that. Amen. So I'm excited. It's been a long time since I've gotten to share this vision, and we've had the vision for a long time, but as I close and ask you for questions, I want to share this. I found this. You know, we moved our office to here in December. And I had surgery right when we moved, so I didn't move a lot of my stuff into my office, so I still have boxes piled up. And I was going through some stuff this week, and I came across our strategic plan from, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 2017. And you know, for months I have been going, oh my gosh, we're behind. We're late. We've not done what we said we were going to do. People have vision fatigue. That really is a thing, you know, where you cast the vision enough and people say you're never going to do it. So I've been really stressing out over that. Thank you. That was like, let the light shine. That was a really big deal. When I pulled this out, I read it and it said, January, the phase 3, where we would have permanent residence, a full-time employee, and purchasing a building, 2024. So we're 2 years ahead of the game, y'all. Even with COVID. So what we've been doing in the last months and years, honestly, is learning what we needed to learn.
That's right.
Is going in prison, doing the Bible studies, writing the curriculum, getting Shannon ready to quit her job. And, you know, that's the hardest thing. For somebody to come and say, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life, you know it's from God. Mm-hmm. So anybody have any questions that I can answer quickly before you go look at ministry things and sign up, everybody? Yes, Trudy.
I just want to know in regards to the program and mentoring, is it just for Christians? Are there other faiths that can be a part of the program?
Okay, That's a great question. As far as working for Dew4Him Ministries as a mentor, you have to be a Christian. To come in the home, you do not. To be a client in our home, you do not have to be a Christian. To take the mentoring class, anybody can take it. It will definitely have a Christian slant to it. But, you know, that's just who we are, faith-based, and where we're coming from. So, and we definitely use the Bible as a curriculum for lots of stuff. One thing that Shannon really didn't talk about is, are they going to get Bible study? And absolutely one of the things. That's why a small group leader who can take somebody through the Bible study is absolutely another thing that we'll need. Okay, Tracy, you were pointing to something?
Well, we were just gonna announce we were gonna talk about the golf tournament.
Okay, I'll let you out. Let me get through questions, and then you can come talk about golf tournament for 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Okay.
I know that you have, I think at the beginning, said that it wasn't just for women coming out of prison.
Correct.
How are you going to work to find, like, an abused woman that needs a safe place to go to?
Okay.
Or things like that?
That's a great question, too. And I don't think we're going to have to work too hard because we already get calls. I have 2 women that could go in the house tomorrow. One is an abused woman who desperately needs a safe place, and we just happen to know about her. And she doesn't have any money or a job or any of the things, definitely needs to be healed. And somebody just said, I know somebody who desperately needs to be in your home. So the advertisement will be out there. Do you know this house right here is front and center on Arundel Avenue in Zebulon? So that's important to us. We want it to be seen for that reason, so people know, okay, I can go there. And it's also right next to the police station, so that if abused woman, we have very good connections there. So, but as far as, like, I think they'll know from also our Facebook page and stuff like that in a nondescript sort of way. Does that make sense?
Well,
We're not going to advertise that we have abused women there because that won't serve the purpose.
We also have partnerships with other ministries.
Yes, absolutely. We have partnerships with several ministries that really minister to abused women and help them get connected with Interact and such. And so it'll just give them the availability to be another home they could get them to.
And our team is in how many churches? How many churches
Oh, yeah.
do we represent?
I mean, we represent a lot of different churches, like probably 15 or 20. So just having people in the churches that would be able to recognize a need there. And remember, we're only going to be able to handle about 8 women. So, but that's a good question. So did that answer it?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Somebody else? Go ahead.
How move-in ready is this house should you get it?
We could move in tomorrow.
So it would be ready for the girls right away?
Yes, there is maintenance, and it's also zoned correctly. So there really, is there things we would want to do? Absolutely. It's not been maintained wonderfully, but it is move-in ready. We'd have to put some air conditioner in upstairs in the bedrooms, like some mini split units, and we would probably have to shampoo the carpet or rip it out. There's hardwoods under every piece of carpet in there. So ultimately, we would want to put on a new roof and rip up the carpet and polish the floors. But do we have to do that? No. It is a functioning building that we could move in. And it actually even has an office in it, a great office that Shannon could move in as has an office immediately. So, any other questions? Go ahead, Trudy.
Will their children be allowed to come, or is it just for women?
That's y'all have got this covered, man. You've got for the 18 months, their children, unless God opens a door differently, maybe gives us 2 houses, because we do see a huge need for that. But I also know that when a woman is working on sobriety or addiction or changing her mindset, to have access to her children is important, but probably not to be in the environment with them. So this home will not have children living with her, but we will absolutely have accessibility with lawyers, etc., to make sure that she has custody rights if that's possible, to see her kids, etc. Anybody else? No more? You got another one, Trudy? Go ahead. That's good. Somebody's thinking it. They're just not, they're too afraid to ask it.
So it's an 18-month program for the ladies?
Yes,
And so there's no cost to them for the 18 months?
correct. Which means that we have to have a lot of money to pay the bills. But let me also say, Shannon alluded to this, and I want you to know, change books, we will also be teaching in the outside. You don't have to come to the house to be in a change class. Bible study. I hope that if we were to get this house, that chapel would do Bible study for community and the women could come to it, because what do they need more than anything? To be socialized into what Michael Dye, who wrote the change book, calls normies. So I don't know that I really consider myself a normie, but that's what he would call me. And that's because they've not a lot of times seen that. And so to have a place that we can do Bible study that maybe is not in a church, so that there's a little different dynamic of safety and interdenominational or interfaith would be, that would be a great thing to do. So we're going to do that for everybody. Most of the things that we're going to do will involve everybody, but we will have some separate groups just for the women in the house. And we've been doing them. We've been doing Jobs for Life. We've been doing Genesis Process. We've been doing change groups. So we at least think we know what we're doing.
I'm going to do a shameless plug that if anybody's interested in the change group, I'm going to be doing it here on Wednesday nights. So if you need childcare, they've got that. But, I've only got one person right now. We'll start in the middle of September.
Yeah, so sign up for Luann's, and if we get too many people in there, the overflow is going to come with me. So we've got enough leaders to take whatever we want, but we won't. We're trying not to go over 6. And Marie's also going to be teaching one, and she lives in Nightdale. So if you're more on that end of the town. She zooms, that's true. You're going to Zoom still?
Zoom because somebody out of the state's going to be taking.
Okay, great. She's got a friend from out of state taking it, so she'll be the Zooming class. So, anyway, anybody else? Okay, Tracy. Golf tournament girl?
I just wanted to say that we're working up to a golf tournament. We have an annual golf tournament that's coming up October the 7th. That's on a Friday. We do it at Wendell Country Club. We had a piece of property that we were dreaming about. We were dreaming about 2 at the same time, and one of them was just past Wendell Country Club, and so that's why we wanted to stay there this year, because we thought that was going to be our greenhouse there for a while, but that didn't work out. God had other plans. So, but it's at Wendell Country Club, October the 7th. We need lots of help that day. So every year we think, we got plenty of volunteers, and we always say at the end of the day, we needed more people, we needed more help. So if you're available and would like just to get to know us better that way, you can volunteer to help at the golf tournament. If you know guys who play golf, it's a shotgun start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's $100 a person, $400 a team. We're also asking for sponsorships, which we've been working on this for a while, because it's coming up. We're 6 weeks out now, so it's going to be here before we know it. So we're taking sponsorships, we're taking players, and we're taking volunteers to help that day.
And it's the funnest day of the year.
Great day.
Oh, it is so much fun.
Outside, you can. It's just a great day. We used to do a barbecue chicken dinner, and believe me, we're not leaving the golf course now. Doing that barbecue dinner was a lot of hard work, and when you're on the golf course, you're having the fun while you're doing God's work.
And if you're lucky, you might get to drive a golf cart, or we put you at a hole giving out goodies, like those little buntini cakes are going to be at a hole, and you get to give every golfer one of those. So they really like you if you volunteer that day.
And I'm just going to put a plug in for Dew4Him right now, because Jane thinks that we haven't had a transitional house yet, but she really has had a transitional house already, because when she was working with me, I came from a background of sexual abuse from my father, and she was working with me, and I got to the point where I said, I can't do this anymore. When I said, what do you have that I don't have, and then how I got introduced to her, and she said, it's Jesus, and let's do a Bible study. That wasn't the answer I wanted to hear. And so she came to me and came to my house, came into my world, And when I got to the point where my nightmares were so bad because I was trying to work through my things, I told her, I said, don't call me again, I'll come to my house, I'm done. And the next knock on my door in about 15 minutes was her with a suitcase in her hand saying, pack your bags, you're moving in. And she moved me into her house with her family. And I was there about 6 months.
Mhm.
I was there about 6 months, and I'm here today because of that. And so we really have done transitional housing before. And so I think that there's nobody that loves on people better than Jane Walford. No matter what background you come from, she loves you because she's got the love of Jesus in her heart. And I know Shannon would agree with me because I know Shannon's felt the same way from Jane. And but that's just Dew4Him's the real deal because there are a lot of Jesus-loving women in this group, and I just, when we went into prison to begin with, where this idea came from originally, when we saw the women leave and come back, and then when we started trying to help some of the women that had left, and then we would lose touch with them because they didn't have anywhere to go, and we saw this is what they need. But it's God's timing, and so we trusted Him, and we're going to continue to do that. But every day we get closer to this house is a day that just helps my heart.
Amen. And my plug is, y'all, it's the hardest, funnest thing you'll do.
Yeah, that's true.
Jane, can you tell where the name comes from?
Oh, yeah, for the greenhouse or for Dew4Him? Okay, yeah, I thought about that earlier. The name for Dew4Him, I would love to tell you that it began super spiritual, but it did not. It began when email first came out, and I didn't have an email account, and my friend said, you have to get an email account. And I said, well, what am I going to call it? And I was sitting in an airport waiting for my plane, and I had a Diet Mountain Dew in my hand, and I said, oh, Dew4Him, what a cute play on words. And I spelled it D-E-W. So that's the beginning. But as we prayed about what to call the ministry at the end of Heart to Heart, I was at a conference, and the speaker said, turn to Exodus, and she was continuing to talk, and as I turned to Exodus, highlighted on my page was, the dew brought the manna. And I went, okay, that's what we do. And then the dew evaporated, and the manna and the nourishment and the sustenance stayed. So that's where the name came from, and we still want to bring sustenance and nourishment. We want to nourish to flourish. So, only God could give us nourish to flourish too. So, that's where Dew4Him came from. And the greenhouse project honestly started out as the Starfish Project, because we had called it the Starfish Project because we wanted to make a difference one life at a time. If you've read the little story about the little boy throwing starfish back into the ocean, and there were hundreds and thousands, and somebody told him he didn't, why was he wasting his time throwing them back because there were too many, and he threw one back and said, well, it made a difference to that one. And we were at the beach as a lead team, and on the beach, and a storm had come, and when we jumped out of our vehicle, our four-wheel drive vehicle, the beach was covered in starfish. And so we have since moved to greenhouse because it really reflects, the dew on the plants and how they grow, but that's where it started from. So I love how God meets you where you're at and then moves you into the place that you need to be. So, and as much as we love this might not be the place we need to be. So if any of y'all know a place that you think we should be, email me, call me, do something to get my attention, because this was totally accidental that we even found out about this. And as the days and months have gone by and it hasn't been sold, our hearts have grown more in love with this piece of property and the advantages that it would give to us. Other property could get stuck in zoning for a year or whatever. So this would be ideal. But, God's a big God. He'll do what he needs to do. So y'all enjoyed looking.
Question.
Yep, okay.
Does the owner of this property know your
Yes.
purpose? Has he heard this presentation?
Well, well, maybe not this presentation, but he knows. The trouble is this is his retirement. And so it's, a situation where literally this is his retirement. And so, I want him to have, it's a struggle of, I want him to have what the house is worth for his retirement. And I also want to have the house for what we can get it for. So, anyway, we've got, $200,000 that we can put down on this house. So, we need about 588,000 more if we didn't want to have a bank loan, which, you know, would absolutely be the ideal thing to do. So, anyway. Any other questions? And you can go peruse everything that's at these tables. Please put your little name on something. Sign up for something, because we need y'all. And how exciting it is to meet all new people. I mean, I know a few of you, a lot of you I've just met today, and I'm grateful. And I hope that y'all have a blessed Saturday. And don't forget your little card. It's here. And if you can help us in any way, let us know. Yeah, your name and email if nothing else.